Okay, so this is my final project. I decided to build a database that is working for a pet store owner that is selling dogs and cats. So we have adopters, cats, dogs, and then adoptions. So the cats and dogs go through the adoption process, and adopters adopts the cats and dogs. And then there's also an option to delete wrong adoptions if they decide to return the animals. So I'll start with the tables first.
Disconnected.
And so we have adopters here. It's my adopters table. And it's pretty simple, just has the name, phone, email, and the adoptions table, which I can't fill data in without a certain stored procedure, but here I have the adoption ID, the adopter ID, pet type, adoption date, and notes, as well as a pet ID down here that I manually fill in. And then I have my cats table, which just gives a general run down of all the information of the cat. So color, price, years of age, date of delivery, available, bit, yes or no, if it's available or not. And I did the exact same thing with dogs, except I added size because dogs are way different in size. So that's the rundown of the tables that I've made. Okay, so first I'm gonna go over my save a cat stored procedure. So this is what it looks like. I go in a bit more detail on the paper about what it does, but it's just a insert statement adding data to the cats table. And I have the query written out here to do that. So if we look at the adopt cats, I have a few here, and the most recent one is orange with the 1002 cat ID. So if I just run that little stored procedure, it adds a cat. So we've got that there, brown, $35, 2 years old. And so that's the adding cats to the cats table. And if we do dogs, I have the exact same procedure, but with adding dogs instead. So again, I kind of go over it in the document a little more, but it's an insert statement. I just added size though, because dogs are different sizes, but ultimately these are all pretty similar. Here is the execute query, and let's see, we can see the dogs. Dog ID is 10, and if we execute the stored procedure, then I have an extra one right there, and the dog is added to the database. Okay, so this stored procedure down here is adoptions. Oh, wait. We've got adoption adopters. It's the right one. And it's the same thing. Here's the right one. Save an adopter. It's pretty much the same thing. I just have different parameters, obviously. Name, phone, email. It's an insert statement. It just adds data into the adopter table. And here is the table. So the adopter's ID, so we have 10. And then if I run the whole stored procedure, it adds an extra one down here. So that shows that my adopter SP works. Okay, so this is my adopt stored procedure, and what it does is it checks to make sure the adopter exists, which is what's happening right here. And then it checks to make sure that the pet is still available, which is what this code is, and it'll say if it's not available, it will just type this in the messages. And then it inserts into the adoptions table. I know my table names are a bit odd. I didn't really think about it until the end. It's a little confusing, but and then it changes the pet's availability from true to false. And so if I go over here, if we look at the adoptions table, there's just one adoption in there. Then if I run the stored procedure, it adds another one. So it gives the adoption ID, the adopter ID, the pet, the date, and then the notes and the pet ID. So that's that stored procedure and how it works. So this next stored procedure is called list available pets, and it's just two select from where statements. And all it does is pulls data from the adoption cats table and the adoption dogs table, and it just lists the available pets. And this is useful so the owner can see what pets are actually available or which ones are being or have been adopted. So that's the stored procedure is pretty simple, and all you have to do is execute. And then it shows the cat IDs, the ones that are available, and the dog IDs. So that's how that stored procedure works. So this is my delete adoption stored procedure. And essentially what it does, when it first runs, it looks up the adoption by adoption ID to find out which pet and type, cat or dog, it's tied to. So if it doesn't exist, it will say no option found. And then if the record does exist, it's a delete statement. So it deletes the row from the adoption table. And then what it also, at the same time, it updates the pets table, changing the availability from false to true. So here is how I would run it. If we go to the adoptions table and just see what's in there. So I have two adoptions, so we'll use, and then I forgot to add. So if we run that stored procedure, it gets rid of it and it's gone. And then since I don't remember if it was a dog or a cat or not, but anyway, it's done here. So it was a cat pet ID. So basically it removed it from the adoptions table. So I forgot which pet ID it was. So if we do adoption ID 3 instead, it gets rid of that. And it was cats. And it was cat ID 6. And we see that they are now all available, which means the adoption didn't fall through and they're all true. And then I did make a return pet stored procedure. It's pretty short, but ultimately I put that in the delete adoption. Like all this code is in the delete adoption. So I didn't use it or really talk about it because it does the exact same thing. So that's kind of the process of putting pets into the tables and then adopters going in and adopting the pets. And then if they don't want the pets and want to return them, the process of that as well. So overall, that's a SQL process that I would make for a pet store business owner that wants to use a more efficient way of accessing and storing data without a bunch of Excel spreadsheets.